get to, I know what me and you both want to talk about. We are both nerds on this stuff. Before we get to our top 5 NFL games of this season, what, Josh, was your biggest takeaway? Because I know you're more of a nut on this than I am, and I didn't think I'd meet anybody that's a bigger nut on this than me of the NFL schedule.
Well, first of all, as a Browns fan, I'm absolutely pissed that we're playing the Minnesota Vikings over in London again. Because do you know the last time the Browns hosted the Vikings?
2009, and before that, it was 1990.
Yes. So we were supposed to host them here in Cleveland in 2017. Nope, that game was played over in London. And so as a Browns fan, I'm like, okay, we're playing the Vikings in Cleveland this year. There's no way they're going to put that game in London and screw Browns fans twice. Yep, they did. Why? Why aren't the Vikings allowed to come to Cleveland? And you might be thinking, okay, Ungar, you have plenty of other games to care about in Cleveland. Why do you care so much about the Vikings? Well, it's because the Vikings only come to Cleveland once every 8 years, and they're one of the teams that I have not yet seen the Browns play, and I would like to. So, yes, I really care about that because I've seen the Browns play the Eagles here in Cleveland. I've seen them play the Giants. I've seen them play the Cowboys. So when Washington comes to Cleveland next, I want to go to that game. I've seen the Browns play the Seahawks. I've seen the Browns play the Cardinals. I've seen the Browns play the 49ers, and I've seen the Browns play the Cardinals. So I've seen the Browns play the NFC West. But I haven't yet seen the Browns play the Packers or the Vikings here in Cleveland. And I would like to. I get that opportunity with the Packers, but the NFL has screwed me out of seeing Minnesota. I have not yet seen the Browns play the Panthers or the Saints, but I have seen them play the Buccaneers and the Falcons. So that's my big gripe about the Browns schedule. But I also find it funny that they're one of 3 teams, along with the Titans and Saints, that got 0 primetime games. I thought they would get at least one with the possibility of Shedeur Sanders being their starting quarterback, but that's not the case. I look at the start of the Pittsburgh Steelers schedule, though. At the Jets, home against the Seahawks. The way their schedule lines up, the NFL is thinking a certain quarterback who might retire, might not, is going to end up in the black and gold for the 2025 season.
There's a reason why they put Packers Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Let's put it that way.
Oh, for sure. Because they think a certain Aaron Rodgers is going to end up in Pittsburgh black and gold. But I tell you what, the NFC North is going to be fascinating. And one of the big games I'm looking at is, I believe it's week 6, if I'm not mistaken. And spoiler alert, it's in my top 5 games. You got the rematch of the Hail Mary game last year. Commanders, Bears.
And it's a Monday night.
Yes. That's going to be a fantastic game. I can't wait to see what the Bears look like this season with Ben Johnson as their new head coach. The Bears are one of the most fascinating teams.
Well, now Caleb Williams won't have to try to get himself to the UFL now that he actually has a real coach.
I know. The Bears are going to be one of the most fascinating teams in the NFL this season.
That NFC North is completely fascinating. I think at the bare minimum, every team in that conference has like 5 standalone games. Minnesota has 7, 5 primetime, and standalone includes the 2 international games, which they have 2 back-to-back. They will face Pittsburgh, and then they will face the Browns in 2 different countries.
Yep. So, yeah, they're 2 road games again for the AFC North are both overseas. And what is the NFL's fascination with the Dallas Cowboys? Because they have, I think, 6 or 7 primetime games.
They have 6, I believe. And I believe that includes Thanksgiving as well, because that's a standalone game against Kansas City. My worst nightmare, the two teams I hate the most, the Swifties and the Cowgirls playing each other on Turkey Day. I'm going to be choking on stuffing.
Okay, wait. Before you get to your other general thoughts, I gotta ask you this question. I think I know your answer, but how did you feel when the league announced you will be hosting Dak Prescott, CD Lamb, Micah Parsons, America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, in the season opening game? Because I thought, based off the fact that you guys hosted the Atlanta Falcons in the season opening game after winning the Super Bowl, based on how that matchup went in the divisional round, I thought the schedule makers would go the same route and have you host the LA Rams because of how that divisional round game ended up going down. But nope, they went with one of the league's oldest rivalries, two teams that haven't played each other in week 1 since 2000 in the pickle juice game. Um, so I want to hear your thoughts on all that.
So, well, let me just say this. I was very surprised when we get to Dallas. The Rams game is week 3, and it's a 1 o'clock game. It's not even a primetime game. It's a 1 o'clock Eastern NFL Sunday ticket on Fox type game. So that did surprise me. I, for the record, thought it was going to be either Detroit, which that's going to be a Sunday night game, or Washington, who they saved for week 16, because clearly the schedule makers think that those two games are going to decide who wins the NFC East, which I'll be honest with you, based off the scheduling I've already done, they're probably right on that. But how I felt about Dallas, and I don't want to sound too cocky because they are my arch rival, and it is always Cowboy Week, and Cowboy Week has started in Philly. But my honest reaction when I first heard that was, I don't mind it. It's Cowboy Week. It's Eagles Cowboys as always. But 1-0. That my first thought was, okay, we're going to win this game, because the Cowboys, in my opinion, have maybe the hardest schedule in the NFL. Josh, I know we don't make our NFL predictions until August. I'm going to throw one out there on the table right now. The Dallas Cowboys will be significantly in third place in this division. I'm talking about, I think they will be 4 or 5 games back of the Commanders and the Eagles, who will be fighting for first place at division's end at the end of the year. I think Dallas does not get anywhere near 7 wins.
Interesting. Even though they play the Giants twice,
They do, but look at this schedule. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the Cowboys' schedule. To me, it's an absolute murderer's row after the Giants week 2. So they go to Philly week 1. They host the Giants. Okay, who cares? Then they go to Chicago. And I know it's early in the year. I know it's the Bears, but I'm sorry. I think the Bears are the better team right now. And I think especially at home. Then they host Green Bay, who they can never beat the Packers. So give them an L there. They go to the Jets, which, okay, they can beat the Jets. At Carolina, tricky game to me. They always struggle in Carolina, and I think the Panthers, I'm not going to say playoffs, but I think they're going to be sneaky good. And I love the way Bryce Young came out at the end of last season. I don't think that's an automatic W. Then they host the Commanders. I don't think they're better than the Commanders at all. They go to Denver. In my lifetime, I don't think Dallas has ever won a game in Denver, and we know the Broncos were a playoff team last year with Bo Nix. Then they take on Arizona and Kyler Murray, who has never lost a game in AT&T Stadium, and that's always the stadium he's played in the most. So that's just through October and early November. I got him off to a 2-7 or a best 3-6 start.
Yeah, it's a tough slate. Could be tough sledding for the for the Cowboys. Excuse me. Um, I look at the way the Ravens' schedule is breaking down. You got Buffalo right off the bat, Cleveland in week 2. The Ravens should win that game in Baltimore. I think they got Kansas City week 3, if I'm not mistaken.
No, Kansas City's week 4.
Okay, I forget who's week 3 then for the Ravens.
I believe it might be the Raiders.
Let me double check. No, it's the Lions.
It is the Lions, but it's at home.
Yes.
That's the key there, is it's at home.
Yes. So their first
4 games. They got Buffalo, Detroit, Kansas City, with Cleveland mixed in there.
Don't forget, they in week 5 they have Houston, and in week 6 they have the LA Rams.
But I know Houston, I believe, is on the road, but the Rams are also at home.
Houston and the Rams are both at home.
So, yeah, the thing about that schedule is all those tough games besides Buffalo and Kansas City are at home.
That's true. And Baltimore is a great team at home. We've seen that. So, but that's still like you got to deal with the Rams and Matt Stafford. Houston, I know they owned Houston the last time they played them in the divisional round. And you have Detroit. Again, they destroyed the Lions the last time they played in Baltimore, but
Josh, I'm going to give you 2 quick ones here out of the NFC. 2 schedules that I think are absolutely beneficial to both of these teams. I think we're about to see the return of the San Francisco 49ers. This schedule is an absolute cupcake of a schedule, if you ask me. So week 1, they go to Seattle, who they have owned for the past, 3-4 years under Kyle Shanahan. Seattle can't beat them. Outside of that game last year where Geno Smith ran him in at the buzzer on him in San Francisco. Then they go to the Saints, who are probably going to be the worst team in the league. Then they got Arizona, who, again, just cannot compete with San Francisco. They always feel like that they beat Arizona. Then they host Jacksonville. I mean, I look at that and I go, that could be a 4-0 start. We know their history with the Rams, that outside of last year, they always owned the Rams. And then they go to Tampa, who last year when they were all beat up, they took care of. Like, I think the Niners.
Granted, hey, it did take a last-second field goal for the 49ers to beat the Buccaneers, which, by the way, I'm looking at the Buccaneers schedule. It's fascinating. You got at Houston in week 2, following a season opening game at Atlanta. You got a home opener in week 3 against the Jets, followed by home against the Eagles. Then you're at Seattle, home against San Francisco, at Detroit, and then at New Orleans, bye week, home against the Patriots, home against at Buffalo, I'm sorry.
That's a lot of wins on that schedule.
And at the Rams. That's not an easy schedule.
Oh, I disagree with that at all. You know why? Because, first of all, they own Detroit. They beat Detroit last year in Detroit. I don't think the Lions are going to be as good this year, especially defensively. They own Philly. We know that, especially in Tampa. And even though the Falcons beat them twice last year, remember the game in Atlanta on that Thursday night? It took a wild fumble. Here's my take about the NFC South. I think Tampa Bay runs away with this division. I don't even think Atlanta comes close.
So, my big thing is, I get why they wanted to do Packers-Lions on Thanksgiving. I would have done Buccaneers-Lions. I think doing Bucs-Lions on Thanksgiving would have been fantastic. That's one of my bigger gripes is why did they always do like Bears-Lions or Packers-Lions? Why not change it up and do a playoff rematch? Buccaneers Lions. Do that.
Well, in fairness, Packers Lions is a big marquee game. It could decide who wins the NFC North. It's not like it's a bad choice.
No, I'm not suggesting that at all. But me personally, I would have preferred Buccaneers Lions.
I think this is the best Thanksgiving slate we've gotten in forever.
Plus, you cap it with Joe Burrow against Lamar Jackson.
Let's get to that because that is on my list. I'll tell you that right now of my top 5 NFL games of the season. So, this schedule to me is really interesting, Josh, because there are games like week 2, Eagles, Chiefs, Super Bowl rematch in Arrowhead Stadium, Chiefs home opener. There are games like Chiefs Chargers week 1 in Brazil on YouTube. There are some like Ravens Bills week 1 Sunday Night Football, Ravens Chiefs week 4. There are some really fascinating matchups early in the year. My problem with putting them on the top 5 games of the year list for all those games I just mentioned is that they are so early in the year and teams change from week 4. As my Eagles, we were 2-2 for 4 weeks a year ago. We only watched one game the rest of the year. So teams change. I think the later in the year you are, the bigger the game is, obviously. So I went for games more so than not later in the year, week 9 or later.
Okay.
So number 5 on my list is a game that we mentioned previously. And I'm going off that this is going to happen because I'm going off that this man is going to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is the return of Aaron Rodgers. This game will be in Pittsburgh, but Aaron, for the first time, facing his former team, Sunday Night Football, Week 8, Packers Steelers. I think this will be such a big storyline game for the Aaron Rodgers reason, but I think it may also be the last big, meaningful game Aaron Rodgers ever plays. And I think that is a bigger impact for me than maybe potentially for others. Number 4, I just mentioned it. This will be the first time they meet Thanksgiving night, Bengals-Ravens. We know how these two teams played last year. Both games were shootouts coming down to the wire. I expect Cincinnati to be better this year. Listen, as long as they have Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I'm not counting them out. We know the Ravens. We know they just need to get over the hump. Number 3 needs no explanation. NFC Championship rematch, Saturday, December 20th, same day as the college football playoff starts. Eagles, Commanders, their first meeting of the year in Jane Daniels' building in D.C. Does that decide the NFC East Championship? Number 2, Week 17, my Philadelphia Eagles taking on last year's runner-up, the Buffalo Bills. What many people thought was going to be the Super Bowl last year, could it potentially be a late season Super Bowl preview? Could this be potentially for a number 1 or number 2 seed for both of these teams heading into the postseason? And then number 1, I don't think there's any doubt. Week 9, 425, CBS, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo. The Chiefs may beat them every postseason. The Bills beat them every regular season. Bills, Chiefs. Without a doubt, it's Manning, it's Brady of this generation. It's week 9. It's later in the year. That's my number 1.
Okay. So my number 5, we mentioned it. I'm going with week 11, 1 o'clock on CBS. I'm very surprised this is a 1 o'clock game. I thought it would be Sunday Night Football, or at the very least have Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on the call, or Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady. But we will see. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Buffalo Bills. Baker Mayfield against Josh Allen. It is mid-November, so it could be a snowstorm because it's Buffalo, but we don't know. I think I think it's a Super Bowl preview? No, but I think it's still a fascinating matchup that deserves the attention that I think it's going to get. You got the number 1 pick going against, I believe, Josh Allen was the number 7 pick.
He was.
In um Josh Allen has already established himself. Baker Mayfield has had a career resurgence with Tampa Bay. So I just love the storylines in that game. Number 4, I'm surprised you didn't have this one on your list. As an Eagles fan, Week 10, Monday Night Football, Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra, Jalen Hurts, and the Philadelphia Eagles going against the Green Bay Packers with Jordan Love. I think that's going to be a fantastic matchup. It it's a playoff rematch, but this time it's in Lambeau. And could this be a playoff preview? I think so. So not only would it be a rematch, but it could. I think it's a preview of maybe not the NFC Championship, but at least the divisional round. At the very least. Number 3, this one might surprise you a little bit, but I am going with Week 8 in Baltimore. Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears taking on Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. We know that if you're this team that's getting a lot of the press and getting all the praise, you go to Baltimore, you're going to get crushed. I think Caleb Williams, people are expecting him to take that next step with Ben Johnson. The Bears have all these pieces around him now. How does that fare when they go to Baltimore to match up with Lamar Jackson? I think that is a fascinating game that I haven't heard a lot of people talking about. And again, you might be surprised by that, but there's just something about that matchup that I'm like, it needs to be on the list for me. Number 2, it has to be Chiefs against the Eagles. It's a Super Bowl rematch in Kansas City. The last time they played each other on Monday Night Football, Philly won that game. I believe it was in fairly dominant fashion, if I'm not mistaken.
No, we won that game. Remember, Jalen Hurts got the rushing touchdown, and then Mahomes threw the bomb to MVS, and he dropped it.
That's right. Yes. And you know Kansas City is going to have vengeance on their mind. It's their home opener. And then number 1, just because it's my favorite game or my favorite rivalry, and the fact that they are ending the season in Pittsburgh with Ravens Steelers. Come on. Like, when these two teams play, it's not just bragging rights on the line. It is usually division title, playoff positioning. If Baltimore wins, then Pittsburgh's out. Or if Pittsburgh wins, Baltimore's out. They met it for the AFC Championship. This game, it's my favorite rivalry in the NFL, without a doubt. Anytime they're playing, I try to find my favorite seat on the couch and I want to watch it. Ravens Steelers ending the season in Pittsburgh. I love it.
So I don't have a problem with any of your games, which I think the NFL is now having a problem. We have too many good teams. We can't get these guys all on primetime every single week. I think that's what this schedule shows. There's a lot of big games, and some of them even are at 1 o'clock, like you said. The Ravens Steelers one. The only reason, there's 2 reasons I push back. The main one is because it's week 18. And I try to stay away from week 18 because the Steelers are going to probably be 9-7, trying to go 9-8, keep that 500 record over or whatever. But even in big divisional rivalry games, seeding is likely to be wrapped up. There's not going to be, arguably, maybe the stars don't play. And on top of that, like, if Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, if this is, what it could be with the Jets and the Steelers don't have, their over 500 season, like, is Aaron even going to play this game?
So I could have flipped it and done week 14 when the Steelers play at the Ravens. I did think about that, but week 18 is they leave that they have it as TBD because they want to put the best game on Sunday night football. And Ravens Steelers, like I said, there's usually big implications when they play each other. And that was the biggest drawing card for me.
And I can see that. I don't hate your Bears Ravens pick. I just hope that Chicago lives up to the hype. I am surprised, and I know what you're going to say. It's because they haven't beat him yet in the postseason. But to me, Bills Chiefs has to be on there somewhere.
Yeah, I, part of that is because I tried to find other games, like because I know Bills Chiefs is going to be at the top of everybody's list, and I have no problem with you putting it number one on your list.
That's part of the reason why I stayed away from Philly, Kansas City, because it was so obvious. And also, like, again, it's week 2. So it's a big game for both of these fan bases. But is it my problem with these big games early in the season? How much do they mean versus later in the season when it comes to actual stakes? They could mean everything or it could mean nothing.
That's part of the reason why, as much as I wanted to do uh, San Francisco, Tampa Bay, the fact that it's week 6, I don't love that. Like, I would have liked that game to be a little bit later in the season.
I think the NFL did the best job it could, though, at spreading out big games. I think we have 1 to 2 big games in every window every week.
Yeah. And again, the fact that the number 1 pick in the NFL draft has 0 primetime games. Like,
I think they're going to be flexed into a Thursday night game, whether it's Jacksonville with Travis Hunter or Houston with CJ Stroud, like one of those divisional games. I could see that being flexed in later in the year.
I want to go to let me pull up the Broncos schedule because that's the Broncos schedule from what I saw is
Okay, I'm going to give you a spoiler real quick, and then we only got a couple minutes because I got to get out of here. Josh, you picked the Broncos to make the playoffs last year, and good for you. You were right on that. I have Denver being 4th in that division this year at 8-9. I think the Raiders are going to make a significant improvement this year. And I think the Raiders are going to be, I think the Raiders and the Patriots are going to be the Commanders and the Vikings, not necessarily to the level of that, but those are your 2 good shocks this year.
So when I look at the Broncos schedule, the game that I would put as an honorable mention, week 15, they host the Green Bay Packers. Something about that matchup is fascinating to me. Jordan Love against Bo Nix, 2 young quarterbacks who like both have something to prove. With Jordan Love, it's what version of Jordan Love are we gonna get? And with Bo Nix, was last year an anomaly, or is this who he is? So because of that storyline, I think that's also a really interesting game.